Hi Tiger Teams. Okay, now that we have our backgrounds drying, here's mine. It's ready to be drawn on. It's time to start our illustrations that represent our inner self. So if you remember, there will be a photograph of you facing the outside of the jar so you can see it clearly, but this drawing will be on the back wall of the jar, so you'll have to look through water and glass to see it. So it will be a little bit distorted, but that represents your inner self and how people can't really see day to day with the human eye what you are actually like and what kind of things represent you as a person. So it might be kind of hard to actually pick something that represents your inner self. For me, for example, I'm an artist, I love nature. I have a piece of land that's been in my family for 30 years, and if you knew me well, if you knew my inner self, you'd know that I'm there all the time, and this place pretty much represents me as a person. I grew up there, so that's probably what I'm going to include in my drawing. Just remember that what we're representing is what is unseen to regular people day to day, and that's distorted. So I'm going to start off with my drawing of my land. Okay, and something else to remember, we're going to be looking at this image, the image you decide to draw, through glass and through water. So things like colored pencils are great, but we're going to need something, some kind of materials that are a lot bolder, like markers, oil pastels, something that will be bright, that you can actually see through the water. So I'm going to do mine in marker. So when I think of my property, I know that, well, there's one main part I love to look at, and that's from the road. There's the valley, the swimming hole that I spend a lot of time at. And up the valley, you can hike up. And there's also two creeks intersecting. So I think that's probably what I'm going to draw. So let's start off just, and you know, this doesn't have to be perfect because, you know, your inner self and what people see of your inner self is abstracted. Abstracted meaning it's not something that's necessarily realistic. It's just symbolic of something. It doesn't have to be representative, really. So this drawing is not by any means realistic. It's going to be pretty abstracted. So this is going to be the valley. I'm just going to keep kind of filling it in a little bit. For this drawing, you think the jar, it curves, so it's going to be on a curve. So it's actually kind of cool to have a longer image. Another thing to think about, the photo that we're going to end up cropping is going to be the same size as your image, so it can be laminated together. But it's kind of cool to have a longer image, not only because that's a cool way to crop your photo on the outside, but also because then you have to turn the jar to actually see the whole image, which can actually be represented. You know, you have to investigate this image on the inside to actually find something out about someone else's or your own inner life. So there's my trees. You can see it is very abstracted. It's not super realistic, and that's okay. Here we go. And you see how bold and bright this drawing is so that it will be visible through the water. There's the creeks. And once again, you want to choose something that you're passionate about, something that you hold dear to your heart. And that doesn't have to be a place, it doesn't have to be a thing. I mean, it can be either of those. It can be a person, a hobby, like an idea, something that you're passionate about and that people, specifically, that people won't be able to tell that you're passionate about this thing just by looking at you. Something you hold near and dear to your heart.